In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else: your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS, official shipping sponsor of the NHL.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, let's have a day as we welcome you into this Thursday edition of Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. I'm Stormy Buonantony. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. Lots to get to over the course of the next 2 hours, and ask and you shall receive. The last few days, I've been clamoring for day baseball. We finally get it today, JVT. As we come on the air, 5 live games right now, including your beloved Angels, who are up on the Yankees 2-1 right now.
Yeah, we'll see if this holds, because this series has been good and bad for the Anaheim Angels up to this point. 2 games in which they were walked off and blown leads in the 9th inning. Oswald Peraza with the shot hit, scored 2 runs for Anaheim to put them up here. Aaron Judge with a solo shot. So 2-1, balls flying out of the park early out there in the Bronx. It has been a fun and wild series between these two if you've been keeping track and watching it, outside of Game 2 in which the Angels blew them out 7-1. But so far, Angels have been plucky, and it goes back to something that I've brought up in this series and we've talked about a couple of times throughout, and I think I'm right even though the results haven't been there. The Angels have been being priced in this series like they are dog water. I mean, you're talking about today. They closed, the Yankees did, here at Circuit, minus 285, minus $3 in multiple spots. And I get it. It's Suter on the hill. You're going to get some bullpen work from the Angels today too. But I don't think the Yankees deserve to be priced where they're at, and this difference between them and an Angels team that their lineup has been among the best in Major League Baseball to start the year. So price-wise, I think you've had the right angle if you've been playing against the Yankees. Just the results haven't been there. The blown lead in the first game yesterday, I don't know if you saw the miscommunication between, I believe it was Moncada and Neto in the outfield, or excuse me, in the infield, where there's a pop-up and one thinks the other is going to catch it. It falls. Ultimately, they blow that game in the 9th inning. They've played really well. The results haven't been there, but I think pricing-wise, they've been priced a little too low. But don't want to make it all about the Angels. We do have a good pitchers duel going down in Cincinnati as well. How about this? I mean, we've talked a lot about this Reds lineup being absolutely atrocious. You call the Pacific Division race that was
the pillow fight.
The pillow fight. I mean, this is the boiled spaghetti noodle fight between these two lineups, because they have been abysmal all year long. And here we are again, both teams getting shut out. Bottom of the 6th inning. Chase Burns is on the hill for the Cincinnati Reds. 6 innings pitched so far, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts, and 1 walk. If you remember last time we talked about Burns, the upside of this team, or excuse me, of him and how good he can be. Well, his last start was against the Angels. Okay, come on now. It's always the connection. 5 1/3, 5 earned runs, got taken deep twice, walked 4, got absolutely rocked.
I know a new thing I'm going to do next time I dress up for you as you for Halloween, though. That's my next one. Is like, which means what?
Yes, I mean, it's always
against
affiliated.
who?
Yeah, that's right. And then Landon Roop on the other side absolutely dominated this Reds lineup, which is absolutely nothing. Should also note the other games that are underway. Nationals all over the Pirates, up 4-0, bottom of the 5th inning. Closing number there between those two. We saw Washington close about like a plus 141, and the Pittsburgh Pirates with Ashcraft actually got bet up in that game. We are delayed in the top of the 1st inning with KC and Detroit, and pretty much just underway. Toronto and Milwaukee, bottom of the 2nd inning between those two, scoreless right now.
Yeah, that Giants-Reds game closed total of 8. It did see a little bit of under money, but I don't know if people saw this being scoreless through, I guess, into the 7th now. Live total there, 2.5. It is juiced to the over, though, minus 145. We also have first pitch for Rays White Sox coming up in under 10 minutes. Rays minus 131, road favorites. Chicago plus 109. Total down from 9 to 8.5. Rays won yesterday.
There you go.
For the first time in 15 years on April 15th. And we actually joked about this. Like, so do we have a little fun and continue the fade? And you said, no, this is when you bet on the Tampa Bay Rays.
It's all, I mean, it's all just
in good fun.
It's all it's a singular data point. I saw some of this on Twitter yesterday. Like, the sports books are putting this out there because they want you to bet. Like, no, shut up. It's just a fun, coincidental little streak here that's worth pointing out. They stopped the slide. They beat the White Sox 8-3 yesterday. Burke gets toasted for 4 earned runs and 5 1/3. Gilbert comes in for the White Sox. He also gets knocked around as well. That's really the difference here. So a solid bullpen game for the Tampa Bay Rays, and they get a victory and snap the schneid. If you are wondering what we're talking about, it had been since 2011 the last time the Rays had won on April 15th for whatever reason. So it had been a very long time, and they get the winning streak and get it done yesterday.
White Sox now, though, dropped 7 of 9, and all their scoring last night, even in the loss, came in the 9th, but they did avoid getting shut out for what would have been the 3rd time in 5 games on that one. Okay, let's set the table for everything else we have to come today. There are still a handful of Major League Baseball games in the afternoon that we'll preview later on, but time, as always, to get things going with the Rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the Rundown.
Very excited, as usual, about our guest list. We got Dennis Bernstein joining us coming up in the next segment, NHL writer, host on SiriusXM NHL Network Radio, with today being the final night of the NHL regular season. Then in hour 2, Chuck Esposito of the Red Rock Race and Sportsbook here in Las Vegas, going to take us behind the counter, and a little more MLB talk with Chris Jimenez, former MLB catcher and host of Loudouts on SiriusXM as well.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking to Chris because not only are we going to go around the entire thing in terms of Major League Baseball and what some of the bigger storylines are, but the Cleveland Guardians have a potentially a stud here that is in the work for Rookie of the Year. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition, but Messick has been fantastic to start the season so far for the Cleveland Guardians, and he is going to be on the hill tonight, so I can't wait to pick Chris's brain about that. His thoughts, for those who don't know, Parker Messick, a lefty for the Cleveland Guardians, 2-0 to start the year, a 0.51 ERA, 16 strikeouts, and a whip under 1. Kid's been great. Can you keep it up? We'll ask Chris about that later.
You mentioned the Pacific Division pillow fight coming to an end, and yes, and it goes to the Vegas Golden Knights. Cash those VGK to win the Pacific tickets. They get it done for the 5th time in 9 years since entering the league. We'll have a date coming up with the Utah Mammoth in the first round. Early odds VGK -190 series favorites, Utah +155, but with tonight being the final night of the regular season, we will actually finish setting up the seeding for the Western Conference.
So dumb. The Pacific Division. Oilers let me down. I was on a hot run. Red
Finally,
Wings,
I win a head-to-head bet with you. Let's go.
Okay, so you admit on record that Dylan Raiola had a better season than Avery Johnson.
No, I still don't. No. Nope. And we can go back through the data, which I actually looked up and you never did. Neither here nor there. Let's get it going in the NBA as your, and I know that we had to check on you. We had some listeners sending you tweets because they were curious about how you're handling things. LA clipped by Golden State last night. Warriors win 126-121. Total goes over 220.5. Clippers were up all game until they weren't. Warriors come back from down as many as 13 with under 10 to play. Steph Curry and Al Horford turning into a couple vintage second half performances there. But before we get into some of the details, how are you holding up?
Well, you couple this with the fact that the Angels blew that game yesterday against the Yankees, and it wasn't a particularly great day, as somebody had pointed out up on social media, and I responded with, I'm alive, unfortunately, waking up and staring at the same ceiling. Here's the thing. We'll start with the Clippers aspect of this and get done with it quickly because they're losers yet again. What did I say to you in the days leading up to this?
High leverage games.
On paper, they can do it. Do you trust that they can? Absolutely not. This game against the Golden State Warriors, where you lead by 13 in the fourth quarter, you blow it, you end up losing that game. Go back to 2022 in a play-in which you led by 13 and you blew it in that game as well. Go back to Friday night where they play the Portland Trailblazers with the top play-in seed on the line, or at least getting into the top half of the bracket on the line to finish with the 8 seed, to be able to have 2 shots at potentially getting into the postseason. What did they do, Stormy? They lost that game as well. Let's go back to Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets last year. Winner take all. Yep. You blew what could have been a 3-1 series lead, in fact, because you allowed the putback from Aaron Gordon, and instead you had to go back to Denver to win it all. What do? You completely no-show. You get blown out.
Yep.
We can go down the list of the failures of the Los Angeles Clippers in the Ty Lue era, and we can write a novel about every single one of these things. At some point, you go to the cliche of the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. This is where the Clippers are at right now. You need to change things. And I'm sorry, Kawhi Leonard's been great all year long. He deserves a share of the blame. 2 points in the fourth quarter. Draymond Green was tremendous on defense. Absolutely fantastic. If you want a clinic for all of you losers out there that say that defense isn't played in the NBA, go watch what Draymond Green did in that fourth quarter. Absolutely fantastic. But Kawhi Leonard is a nonchalant, blasé, non-leader in that locker room at times, and I think that bleeds over to the team in these high-leverage games. It is a strength to not get too high or too low in certain instances, and it helps you, in certain cases, come back from big deficits. In other times, it means that you no-show in a lot of must-win scenarios. They did it again yesterday, And I think that you've got to really consider what you're going to do with this team moving forward with the head coach, because nothing's going to change at this point right now. I think there is a head coaching candidate on the staff, and Jeff Van Gundy, who's done a great job with their defense in his time that he's there. But I think it's time to clean things out a little bit here, move on, and change some stuff up. They probably won't do it, and now I'm done talking about this team.
We'll see, too, if this is the end, potentially, for Kawhi Leonard out there in L.A. You mentioned the 2 points, just 2 shots in the fourth quarter as well, and those 2 points coming on a layup with 16 seconds to go in the quarter did nothing because of, as you mentioned, Draymond Green and the defensive effort that he was pouring on to Kawhi Leonard. Steve Kerr addressed that and what this win meant to the organization last night.
Steph and Dre kind of took over down the stretch. Dre's defense, he's the best defender I've ever seen in my life. It's just insane what he does out there. The job he did on Kawhi. I thought our coaches did a really good job with the game plan to blitz Kawhi and try to put a crowd around him. And so the preparation was good, and the players really followed through. And for one night, you know, we're us. We're champions again, you know, and I know that may sound crazy to everybody out there. It's a play-in game. I don't care. It's just absolutely beautiful to watch.
It's true. I mean, narratively, it's really cool. I mean, Curry, as I think Zach put it, you get a Curry flurry. You mentioned Al Horford. I mean, I think he hit 3 of his 4 threes in that fourth quarter to help them get back into that game.
He was 4 for 4 from 3 in the fourth.
Yeah, I mean, he was tremendous. So, all 4. He was 4-7 for the game. Like, that was a classic Warriors performance for a night. So we'll see if they can capture it back. They're about 3-point dogs against Phoenix coming up. We could talk a little bit more about that play-in matchup coming up on Friday. But narratively, if you're a fan of sport, and you have to be a fan of Steph Curry, watching what he did, watching what Draymond did, watching Al Horford help, Kristaps Porzingis with all the illness situation that he's been dealing with for years now, coming in and performing at a really high level at times too. It was bittersweet watching it, because my team gets eliminated, but you're watching it going like, hey man, the old guys, like, they're getting it done, and this is pretty dope. And maybe we get one last postseason series out of the Golden State Warriors if they win against Phoenix and move on to take on OKC.
See how that plays out tomorrow. Also last night, the Embiidless 76ers handled business to win and cover against Orlando. RIP the +2, 109-97. The final there, under cashes at 220.5. With that, Boston will now face the 76ers coming up in the first round. A -900 favorite there. We'll discuss that and a whole lot more a little bit later on in the program. But when we come back, diving into the NHL tonight.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
Watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It's about that time, ladies and gentlemen. The playoffs are upon us, and this is when every game really matters. So does every bet, and VSiN Pro is giving you daily best bets, real-time betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, AI-powered prop tools and matchup analysis, plus 24/7 video and show replays available on the VSiN Watch app, so you're ready as we get underway. Get ahead of the action now, and you can start over at vsin.com/subscribe for just $9.99, or save 50% with that annual subscription. Come check it out, vsin.com/subscribe. It is the final night of the NHL's regular season today. The postseason will begin in earnest on Saturday. As of last night, the Vegas Golden Knights have officially cemented their spot as Pacific Division winners, but still 2 more rounds in the Western Conference to be decided on tonight's short slate, because we need to know what's going to happen with the Oilers, the Ducks, and the Kings. To help us break down that and a whole lot more, very excited to have Dennis Bernstein join us here on the Progressive Guest Line, senior writer over there at the Fourth Period, SiriusXM NHL Network Radio as well. You can follow him on X at Dennis TFP. Dennis, okay, let's start there, because we were kind of joking in the commercial break a little bit about how it feels inevitable. We're going to get round 5 of Oilers Kings, aren't we, depending on how things play out tonight?
Yes, we will. I think the key game, I think, is the Ducks game, because the Kings are going to be playing hard in Calgary. Right? They won the first season. They've got points in 8 straight. They're on a real heater. It's The Predators are done. They're out of it. All they can do is spoilers. You would think, okay, Anaheim, they want it for the seeding. They want to stay in a matchup with respect to Edmonton as opposed to playing as a wild card 2 and playing in Colorado. But the Ducks have won one game out of the last 9, Stormy. If you watch them play, I wouldn't be confident making that bet. The only confident bet I have in this game, it's probably going over the total. But I don't really feel good because the Ducks, they've really regressed here over the last 9 games.
I'm just out of curiosity. I know we have some stuff to be set, but does this Pacific Division and how weak it looks, Dennis, is it as weak as it looked going into this postseason? Are none of them threats to do anything here once we get to the brackets and once they're set?
I'll be honest with you, JVT. I think Utah is the best seeding because they're going to play all the Pacific Division teams. They're going to cross over. Now, Vegas has points in 10 straight, and they're a different team with Torts behind the bench. But it is a weak division. Anaheim or Edmonton getting out. Now, I'll say one thing about Edmonton. Connor Ingram's playing better in net over the last couple of games. He played really well here in Los Angeles last Saturday. Wound up losing 1-0. He lost a shootout to Colorado 2-1. But yeah, it's the weakest. When you compare it to the top 3 teams in the Central, there's really no comparison pound for pound this season.
The Oilers, the best of these 3 that have yet to have their seeding decided, and they are big favorites tonight against the worst team in the National Hockey League, the Vancouver Canucks, minus 325 on the money line here. But as you said, very motivated to win here, right? And it seems like, they just need 1 point ultimately to have that second spot in the Pacific Division, but they're going to want to go out here, you would imagine, and do some damage. Is there a way to bet on this game without having to pay that hefty of a price?
Yeah, I would just play the over because Zach Hyman's coming back, which is a great ad. Leon Draisaitl won't be back till the playoffs, obviously. But I think the over because Edmonton at home, they're looking to score. They're looking to entertain, Stormy, and they don't really care too much about defense, and they're not a great defensive team. So I agree with you. That's a heavy price to play as a favorite because Vancouver is the worst team in the league, even though they've won 3 straight. So I would just play the over in this game and maybe a Zach Hyman anytime point returning to the lineup.
All right, let's tag team this. I want to go to the Eastern Conference, so we can handle the West, but we have these playoff series set. What do we make of this Buffalo and Boston series? Do you think the Bruins have a shot here to extend this out, or what are we doing to maybe win it? The Boston Bruins, what do you like?
Yeah, I think they're the best dog on the board in the East. I really do, JVT, because it's a great story in Buffalo, but stories don't win games. And if you look at the season series between these 2 teams, Boston won 3 out of 4. They have Jeremy Swayman, who can match Luukkonen save for save. It changes at game 83, right? And the Bruins, their profile, the way they play, they're an annoying team. I like this team as a dog because, except for maybe Jason Zucker, and I might be missing 1 or 2 other guys on the Buffalo roster, this is uncharted waters for this team. Yeah. And like I said, it changes different. So I like the Bruins here in this series. I think they got a legitimate threat to beat the first seed in the East and go on.
I think that's a fair evaluation, right? Like questions about Buffalo being here for the first time for all of these guys. Meanwhile, a Boston team that's got some experience. They've got the better goalie. They've got the best player in the series in David Pastrnak as well. So there are a handful of things that would lend to that support, definitely. Series price right now, plus 145 on the Bruins. I made the case yesterday for Philadelphia against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think this could be a long series, and a dog maybe potentially could bark there. What's your evaluation of that set?
Agree with this, Storm. I think the play here, it's going to be a long series. So play over 5.5 games or maybe 6 games or stuff like that. But Flyers as an underdog, so they're like the Kings. Like 3 weeks ago, they were done. They were cooked. And they got hot. Tuckett did a great job. They got Dan Vladar is their starting goaltender. He won a shootout for them in a big game. Zegras has played well. Tyson Forster coming back. Yeah, I like this. This is a long series because these teams, it's not the teams hate each other, the fan bases hate each other. So I think it's going to be really entertaining on social media what's going to go on in this game. But yeah, this is a long series, and the Flyers are a live dog in the series as well.
You know, Stormy, I have to really talk her back off the ledge a couple of times. I mean, she calls these Carolina Hurricanes soft, Dennis. She doesn't believe in them.
This is all lies.
Oh, you're right. She calls them soft Euros, that they can't handle the physicality of hockey. What are we doing here in this Senators series? I mean, can they wipe the floor with them? What are we doing with Carolina in big picture? Can they finally break through?
JVT, yeah, they can break through. Like, let's not overthink this series. Like, Carolina's the better team. And yes, Ottawa did play in the playoffs last year. So second back-to-back years, Travis Dean's done a nice job. Allmark showed up as a goaltender. But Carolina's the 1 seed in the East for a reason. They have depth. They are the better team. They're the better defensive team. Maybe a push in net because you don't know who's going to be healthy for the Hurricanes. But this is a team that should move on to the second round. But Stormy's right. Do I think they're a 4-round team? I don't know. When you got Logan Stankoven, who's about 5'7" and 150 pounds, who's a second-line center, Not sure that's good enough to get to 4 rounds. So, but I do like the Canes early in this series. I think this should be relatively easy for the Canes. Moving on from there, let's see what happens.
I want to set the record straight. I have not called them soft. I just think, personally.
There's a but.
No. I have wasted so much money on this team year after
Agreed.
freaking year to get to or win a Stanley Cup.
Stormy.
What am I supposed to do? I mean,
picked them 2 years in a row to win the Cup.
Yes.
They can't do it. Yep.
Even last year in the Eastern Conference, they finally win a game in the Eastern Conference final, and it ended what was a 15-game losing streak there. They still lose 4-1. Like, what am I supposed to do? Okay. More positive things. The biggest favorite on paper, series-wise, granted, if Anaheim ends up playing Colorado, that will replace it. But Tampa Bay laying minus 250 in this series with Montreal. Do you think that's a fair price, or what's your breakdown of the set?
No, I would stay away from that, from playing the series price. Like, I'm playing overs in games. I like there's stars in this. Like, play whatever prop you get on Nikita Kucherov, play over. He's going to get points. Cole Caulfield's going to score goals. Suzuki's going to get assists. I think that's how I would play this series. Like, play over in games, because I'll leave Vasilevsky in that. Again, the goaltending in Montreal is untested. So I like the overs in games, and I like prop bets on these guys. I stay away from this series. I think it's too expensive because there's not what separated these teams. Stormy was a tiebreak, so they're close with respect to. So it could be a long series. So don't like that. Do like Tampa, but I think that's too costly a price to play.
Okay, that's the first round set. Good table set for everything we have to come beginning this weekend. Big picture. Is there a team that maybe people aren't talking about enough that could go on and win it all in your eyes?
No, because I think when the push comes to shove, I think we're looking at 2022 again with Tampa Bay and Colorado. Like, so I don't think this is a surprise team, because out of the West, maybe it's Dallas. That's not a surprise. And if Edmonton would raise up again and win, who's going to be surprised about that if they get out of the division? And in the East, it's a toss-up. I just lean towards Tampa because of John Cooper and Vasilevsky and their veteran presence. But there are, so I think that's what I look at. I lean on experience when I'm looking at a Cup final, to be honest.
Short list in your mind then of realistic candidates to make it all the way to the final?
Yeah, and short list for the Conn Smythe, the MVP of the playoffs. Right, it's going to be Kucherov or McKinnon. Okay. Connor McDavid, the usual suspects. So I think it's not a long list. Now, there are teams that could emerge and come out of the East because there's a lot of balance there. But again, what we talked about with Buffalo, there's no experience there. And because the Panthers won the last 2 games in a row, the last 2 years in a row, there's not teams that went deep in playoffs. So I'd have to lean towards Tampa because of the prior experience, and they have won as a group before.
Dennis, before we get you out of here, we have to ask, speaking of awards, Hart Trophy's been an interesting topic of conversation. What do you make of how that might play out when we finally get the results of the ballots?
Full transparency, JVT, I'm a voter. I still haven't made up my mind. It could come down to tonight, but it's either going to be McKinnon, McDavid, not Celebrini, and Kucherov. Celebrini would be closer to having a shot if his team got in the playoffs. The Sharks, they didn't. It's those 3 guys. I, as a voter, haven't decided. I'm sure a majority of the voters haven't decided either because it's that close of a race.
Dennis, I got to tell you, I like that answer, and we can follow up on that coming up in the next segment as well. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Enjoy the final night of the regular season.
Absolutely, Stormy and JVT. Always great being on VSiN. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Dennis.
Dennis Bernstein. Make sure you check out all the work over there at the 4th period. And then, of course, our Sirius XM friends over there at NHL Network Radio. But I do have, as this awards race has come more into focus, a stronger opinion than I did when we talked about this on Monday. So we will get into a little Hart Trophy. Lots of NBA still to come next here on the program as well. 2 more play-in games beginning tomorrow. And we didn't get to dive in very much to what we saw yesterday from the 76ers and Orlando Magic, pushing that forward to tomorrow's play-in game. I am very curious your thoughts on what we saw from Orlando. Stick around. So much more Money Moves coming up after this.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you're looking for free picks, backed by Real Analysis. No better time than the postseason to check out Just Win Bets, baby. They've got mathematical models and AI-driven best bets across the National Football League and college hoops, NBA, NFL, UFC, soccer, and more all year long. They've got you covered with every sport across the board, plus a live weekend preview each and every Friday as well. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on X, and get their free daily best bets newsletter at justwinbetsbaby.com. Wanted to follow up here quickly on some of our conversation with Dennis Bernstein last segment of SiriusXM NHL Network Radio, discussing when you asked the question about who should win the Hart Trophy. He's a voter. He said he hadn't made his decision yet, but it's going to come down to what appeared likely between MacKinnon and Connor McDavid, correct? Mm-hmm. So obviously, Connor McDavid was an odds-on favorite by the time this came off of the board. You saw the report from Greg Wyshynski come down of the poll that he took that had Kucherov kind of in the driver's seat entering this final week of the regular season. The more I have sat on it, the more I think Connor McDavid should win this award. Okay. And I strayed from that thought process a little bit because of how they've struggled the last week and a half or so when they had all the opportunities in the world to cement first place in the Pacific Division. But going through the way that they played out their season, I mean, he's going to win the Art Ross, barring a 7-point night from MacKinnon tonight, right? He's going to have the most points. Yes, most points in the NHL this season for the 6th time in his career.
Got to give me that.
Third in goals with 48. Potentially, if they do go off the way that I think they can against Vancouver, if he had a 2-goal night, getting to 50 this season would be a massive feather in the cap. No Draisaitl for the back end of the year. No Zach Hyman at the beginning of the year. Assistant coaches fired. Chris Knobloch and the criticism that's come from the head coaching standpoint throughout the course of the year. They trade away Stuart Skinner to bring in Tristan Jarry to be the guy. He ends up getting relegated to the backup spot because of how poorly he played, that they're reliant on Connor Ingram in net. If Connor McDavid is not on this team, or not even just having, he has 134 points this year. If he had a 90-point season, where are the Oilers right now? They're probably in the draft lottery because of the way that everything has transpired around him. I think if you're talking about Hart Trophy and value and what he's provided, my vote would be for Connor McDavid if I had a vote, at least where I sit right now.
Okay, so as it stands right now, I'm just using the prediction market. McDavid is the favorite. So you say that is fair pricing then?
What is the number now?
Yeah, like, what do you have, 57% here? So, yeah. Odds on.
Wayne Gretzky, and I know he obviously has his Edmonton allegiances, but he even said on TNT yesterday that if, he would vote for Connor McDavid right now. And I agree with the sentiment. This has just been one of those years for Edmonton that if you didn't have McDavid at his absolute best, it could have been pretty brutal. All right, we'll get back to the National Hockey League a little bit later on in the program, but I thought that was a worthwhile thing to bring up quickly.
A great soliloquy.
Let's get to the NBA, shall we? Because with the action that we saw last night, we know the matchups that are coming up tomorrow now as the play-in continues. The Hornets opened up 2-point favorites against the Magic. Got as high out to 4.5 in the market. What do you think about the early movement on Charlotte?
That it's correct. I mean,
Okay.
let's throw all the data out and let's just say, have you seen the Orlando Magic? I think it's a ship that it's worth going down on here. The Magic stink. Their offense is nothing. Paolo Banchero, when it comes to his three-point shooting, has become Ben Simmons. He does not want to take those shots. How many times did you watch him yesterday catch a ball on the wing and go, hey, you know what I think is better than a wide-open three-point attempt? I'll dribble into traffic and see what happens. I'll dribble into a post-up of Paul George and miss a shot. I'll dribble into a contested jumper. I just don't understand what the logic is here. He seems to be not broken, that's strong, but he seems to be missing something in his game. And this team itself is just not playing well. I mean, the fact that you have these reports floating out there that no matter what happens, Jamal Mosley is gone. The fact that the rumors are that Paolo Banchero has said him or me when it comes to Mosley and him on the team, to which, by the way, sneaky thing here, management Stormy should say, how about both of you are gone? So that is a team that is just completely broken. And I think I'd just rather go down on the ship of Charlotte -3.5. I can understand. I was talking with our buddy Will Hill this morning. You know, if you want to look at this and just say, hey, I think the market's gone too far. The Magic are at full strength at a playoff game. As we have talked about, home court is worth a little bit more when you play in these playoffs. And so maybe you're a little too far up in terms of the number. I can get the logic. I don't want to go down on that ship. I'd rather go down on the other one. I feel like I have a better shot on there as opposed to asking the Magic, as I unfortunately did yesterday, to be a competent team one time for me and they just can't do it. So I'm out. I think it's Charlotte or nothing.
I was mad yesterday. I was refreshing the page on DraftKings to see what that opener would be. And when I saw it come out too, I was like, sweet, I want to bet that. And so I went to all the apps that I have available to me here in Las Vegas. Not posted, not posted, not posted. Opens 3.5. Kill me.
Yeah.
Like you can't, I wasn't able to find the number that I wanted at all. But maybe to your point, 3.5 is just the way to go if this continues to climb. Although we did see a little bit of buyback when it peaked at 4.5. 3.5, your prevailing number across the board right now. With the 76ers win over Orlando yesterday, that cemented the first round series between Philly and the Boston Celtics as well. Celtics a massive favorite here, minus 900. 76ers 6-1. Any early thoughts now with that series set?
Yeah, and by the way, Giancarlo Stanton with a big old bomb to dead center, so the Yankees take a 3-2 lead over the Angels. Aaron Judge scores a run. Let's take it. So for this, I always like to invoke our buddy Doug Kazarian when it comes to this logic, but I will say outright that I think the series and the market is just too high on Boston. I think Boston is more flawed than we expect. And yeah, Zach Cohen and I were talking about this in today's episode of Harvard Handicappers is out now. A couple of years ago, you couldn't get anybody to believe in Boston at all until they won the series, until they won the NBA Finals, And now here we get this iteration of Boston, which is stripped down to the studs outside of Derek White and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And it's like, this is the best team in the Eastern Conference, bar none. And I don't buy that. And they're being priced really high, and especially in a series where we might get Joel Embiid back. These first-round series are so spread out. You could get Joel Embiid back somewhat soon, Game 3. And what if it, God forbid, is a 1-1 series? We saw the Celtics lose a ridiculous series last year to the New York Knicks where their shooting went dead cold and they couldn't get a victory there. And yeah, there was some weirdness to that series, but either way, that was a better version of Boston that lost to the Knicks. Now you get this, and I'm curious, they have done a great job, Joe Mazzulla, at throwing 7-foot guys out there and saying, you go play center today, or you go play center. And it's worked out over the course of the regular season. But I don't know if that works, especially when you're talking about Embiid potentially coming back in this series. I just think they're getting priced too high. But why I bring up Doug Kazarian is, okay, he would always tell me this, like, yeah, that might be the right side. But do you want to sweat that out? Like, do you want to take 6-1 with the 76ers and think that, hey, Embiid's going to come back. I'm going to willingly take my blows here in the first couple of games, but hopefully Embiid comes back. And I just don't know if that's the case. Like, I still think this should be about like a $6, $6.50 series price. So I still think that Boston should be a pretty prohibitive favorite. I just think the way they're being priced, I think for me, one thing that you put a pin in and you go, if this is the way the market's going to price them now, let's take our shots in the later rounds where I think they can lose those games to like the Knicks, for example.
They are plus 155 favorite to win the Eastern Conference. Third shot on the board to win it all this year. Just to talk about, again, how prohibitive this price is in the first round, not only are they $9 favorites for the series, to lay 2.5 games, you still have to lay a minus 175 or higher price that's out there right now. Another series I wanted to bring up real quickly, just because of the movement that we've seen here early, Houston and Los Angeles. I saw a tweet from John Ewing, who puts out a lot of the data over there at BetMGM this morning, that 98% of the money is on LeBron and the Lakers to win the series because of the number it was at, plus 550. Now that's down to 4-1. And your boy, Zach Cohen of Hardwood Handicappers earlier this week was actually making a case for Los Angeles in terms of the series spread. Listen to this.
In the West, it's the Lakers taking on the Rockets in the 4-5 matchup. I'm trending towards taking the Lakers plus 2.5 games versus the Rockets. That's out there at minus 110. I just think it was huge that Los Angeles was able to claim home court advantage in the final weeks of the regular season. With 2 games in Los Angeles, I think that LeBron can absolutely steal one of them. He looked great towards the end of the regular season. They found ways to win games when they needed to and when people least expected it. And I do think that they're capable of winning at least one game at home. And if they do that, then you're talking about extending the series a little bit, becoming best of 5 in Houston, and maybe the Rockets win game 3 after also winning games, 1 or 2, and they're up 2-1 heading into game 4. But at that point, are we sure we're not going to have either Luka Doncic or Austin Reeves or both back for the playoff series? I kind of think there's a chance we're going to see those guys once the series heads to Houston.
Plus 2.5 games is minus 110.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry about that. I would agree with him. I think I told that to Gil earlier today when he had me on. I don't have anything in this series, but the potential that they're going to come, these guys are going to come back. Again, the spread out nature of the series, the fact that it helps these teams. I mean, it's Philadelphia, it's the Los Angeles Lakers, these teams that are waiting for guys to come back from injury. Denver we can throw in there because Peyton Watson is mending too, so who knows when he's going to be available. I think that coupled with the fact that the Houston Rockets are a team that I don't really trust. Go back over their winning streak that they had at the end of the year, and you tell me which team you would circle and say, that's a formidable opponent that you beat. I just don't buy it, and I don't buy the way that they run their half-court offense. Remember, that one catastrophic game they had in which they completely collapsed, we talked about it, we broke it down here on the show. It was against the Lakers. I think J.J. Redick's pretty good a coach, and he can do enough, and I think LeBron's got enough in the tank. If you can steal one and extend this series out one, like Zach is saying, I think it makes a ton of sense if you wanted to take that 2.5 at a fair price.
Yeah, just minus 110 once again for the plus 2.5. If you want to get real wild, think that the series can go even longer. Plus the 1.5 games, you're getting plus 265 on that. So bet 100, win 265 back. Okay, we got to step aside here real quickly. When we come back, we'll update you on all the day baseball going on right now. Yankees, you mentioned it, pull ahead over the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And we will get to everything else still to come. 4 more games beginning in the later hours.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The turntables. If you don't watch The Office, then I'm sorry for that reference. But Washington started this game up 4-0. Things have shifted significantly here. Pittsburgh Pirates now with a 6-5 advantage in the 7th right now. Giants up 3-0 on the Reds. Your Angels trailing by 1 in New York against the Yankees. And we've got a tie game in Blue Jays Brewers. Scoreless as we just got underway a little bit ago, only in the 3rd inning between the Rays and White Sox. Detroit also up 1-0 on the Royals here early. We still got 4 games more to go a little bit later on, but anything you want to touch on with those games quickly?
No, that's it. I mean, we were high-scoring start to the game between the Angels and the Yankees. That's kind of been the series, though, up to this point. A lot of games going over the total, a lot of back and forth. So you get that when you have 2 lineups that have been pretty effective. Surprising that Fried, I mean, again, he's got a long runway here, but having a little trouble the early going, but it seems to have settled down. He's going to get Shonwell to ground out to 3rd, so that will end the frame for the Angels. We'll head to the bottom of the 4th with the Yankees up 3-2.
All right, let's get into some of the action still to come, including one more early afternoon game that's going to get underway in the next 15, 20 minutes or so. Rangers and A's going head-to-head. So far in this set, Rangers got off to a nice start, winning game 1 of what is going to be a 4-game set here. 8-1, lost the next 2. Can they bounce back to close things out today? Price-wise, Rangers around minus 115, the A's minus 105, run total up to 10.
Yes, I mean, this is, so you're expecting maybe in this little minor league park that you're going to get a little bit.
Run total 8.
Yeah, and I think I believe it got bet up a little bit of the juice.
Peaked at 10.
There you go. Jack Leiter is going to get the start here for the Texas Rangers. You're going to get Jacob Lopez on the other side. We'll start with Lopez first. Part of the reason why you expect some success here for the Texas Rangers. Over 13 in the 3rd innings pitched so far for Lopez. 7.43 ERA, 7.36 fielding independent. What you see is what you get, as I like to say here. 3 runs at least in all 3 outings so far. Last time out on the road against the Mets, got torched. 5 innings, 25 batters faced, 5 earned runs, got taken deep twice, walked 3, and struck out 5. The command has been a very big issue for Jacob Lopez here. He has walked 19% of the batters he has faced up to this point. You want the actual number through 3 starts. He has walked 13 batters. That is not good of the 68 that he has faced. So one could expect that Lopez is probably going to have these issues again. And you do wonder, with the small issues he's shown with the homer, that maybe he can get taken deep a couple of times in this game, or at least once in this game, considering the power for the Rangers has been there, especially Jake Berger in the series has been pretty good. It's been pretty early. On the other side, Leiter, maybe a small regression candidate, depending on what statistics you like. 4.91 ERA. 304 expected fielding independent, but the FIP is right in line with where his ERA is at up to this point. Strikeout numbers through the early portion of the season have been pretty good. He's fanned about a third of the players that he has faced so far, but he's a fly ball pitcher in a park where maybe you can get taken deep here, Story, and the contact numbers haven't really been great. He's given up 6 barrels or a 16.7% rate. 50% of the balls that are hit against him have an exit velocity of 95 miles an hour or higher. So 2 pitchers who aren't performing particularly well, played here a little bit earlier in the day. Maybe we get some offensive success for both of these teams. And you can get this thing to go over the total potentially.
Okay. Orioles looking to bounce back, meanwhile, after dropping 2 of 3 to the Arizona Diamondbacks, including yesterday in extras 8-5. They open up a 4-game road set against the Cleveland Guardians today. In terms of the numbers, Baltimore plus 104 road dog. Cleveland minus 126 on the money line. Also a flat 8 here for your run total. Slight juice on the over at minus 112.
All about Parker Messick, man, and what's going to happen with the Cleveland Guardians. Messick has been tremendous, and that is not exaggerating things. It might not give him enough credit for what he's been able to do so far through the early going. Again, short sample size, 3 starts, 17 2/3, a 0.5 ERA, and a FIP of 293. So what you see here is like, hey, man, this guy's going to regress to an incredible pitcher instead of just an untouchable one. You look at some of the underlying metrics, he doesn't really do well in challenging opposing hitters, right? His whiff rate is just in the 30th percentile, but he's been fantastic at getting guys to chase on balls out of the zone, 91st percentile there, strikes out a good amount of guys, just about a quarter of the dudes that he faced, and the command is on point. And the great part for him is no hard contact really given up at all in terms of barrel rate and hard hit rate so far, 2.2%, 28.9% respectively, floating around the 87th and 86th percentile for both of those categories. He's been untouchable. And so you do wonder if he's deserving of a little bit more from a price standpoint, considering how well he's been pitching. Should the Guardians be slightly heavier favorites, just given the starter they're going to roll out here today has been absolutely tremendous. Baz going to get the start, like you mentioned, on the other side. He's been fine, fielding independent 366 over 3 starts, so he's been a pretty average pitcher. Command has gotten a little bit better. His strikeout rate, though, and all those numbers, Stormy, have gotten a little bit worse. He's getting somewhat unlucky on balls in play, so maybe that's part of it. Maybe you get this game go under the total, but Messick has been great, and it's kind of tempting to see $1.26 next to a pitcher who's been pitching as well as he has and think that you don't want to play that.
Astros, after the 8-game losing streak, won back-to-back games now against the Rockies. Minus 168, home favorites today to complete the sweep against Colorado. Run total 8.5. Ryan Weiss going against Juan Mejia.
Yeah, this is a baseball game being played today. I don't know if you know this. That's really all I got.
I only brought it up because it's your favorite team in baseball.
Yeah, I'll say this.
That's sarcasm, by the way. He hates the Astros.
Yes, they're frauds, and I hope the failures continue. But speaking of guys that aren't frauds, who I hope all of the successes in the world fall upon his shoulders outside of that one time during the NCAA tournament, Mitch Moss does have Yordan Alvarez in a race to 10 for 10 home runs, and he's at 7 right now. And Alvarez, yesterday, if I remember correctly, he ended up going deep, had a really good game. He was 2 of 3, scored 2 runs, drove in another. So he was fantastic. He's been hitting the ball extremely well. I think it's worth watching here, whether or not Alvarez can continue the power run that he is on to start the year. And again, we'll point out that even though his team is about 3 games under or so, he's in contention for MVP. The question is just, will his team be good enough? But we talked about this with Burke, just where this team is at from a pitching standpoint. Like you said, I mean, this pitching matchup right now, they're so injured at that position. Yeah. And now you're rolling out Weiss, who's got a 7.36 ERA. He's not going to go long either, so you're going to ask the bullpen to go. He hasn't pitched more than 2 2/3. Actually, he got 3 against the A's in his start against the Athletics. So maybe you're going to get that, but this is going to be, as they call it, the Johnny Holstaff game. You're going to get some bullpen guys out there. You know, what is this pitching staff going to look like? I think big picture, it's a nightmare today. Okay. Do you want to lay $1.68 for a team that's going to need its lineup to really produce at a high level? Statistically, it can, but it's a lot to swallow given the status of the pitching.
Short card today, last game of the night, Mariners-Padres, and
dude,
we're gonna
I got to play the call for you. I forgot to send this in. You've got to hear the call from last night. At
Jackson
the end of that
Merrill walk-off 2-run double completes a 5-run ninth?
Yes, yeah. So I told you this. It's one of Major League Baseball's best creations. I sent this to you this morning. So if you have MLB TV, they have a recap rundown, which is they compile all of the highlights of all of the games and put it in one singular video. So it's one of those like morning, put it on and just kind of put it on while you're doing work. I thought the play-by-play dude for San Diego was getting murdered in the booth. The way this guy was screaming.
Voice cracking and everything.
And it's right up your alley. I totally forgot to send it to you.
I do love a good radio call.
So I'll have to find it and play it for you. But a ridiculous game yesterday between these two.
I mean, you said it, a ridiculous comeback from down 6-2 to winning 7-6. And look out, Dodgers maybe in the NL. No. Second best record in baseball, though, right now. Tied with the Atlanta Braves behind only the Dodgers.
Twins have the best record in the American League, so.
Okay, leave me alone. Let me have. This is why I can't have nice things. They are 12-6 though to start the year. I don't know how sustainable exactly what they're doing is. When we have Chris Jimenez come on next hour, I'm curious his opinion, especially on this team and where they sit right now. As for today, though, Walker Buehler getting the start for San Diego at home. Even money dogs against Luis Castillo and the Mariners. -120 favorites there on Seattle. 8.5 your total.
Yeah, Castillo's off to a pretty rough start to this season. Now, the ERA is floating around like 7 at this point, but one would look under the hood a bit and say he probably deserves a little bit better here. 6.92 ERA, but a 3.16 fielding independent. Balls in play is at 4.29. That's abysmal, despite the fact that strikeout numbers are actually a little bit better than they were a season ago. Strikeout rate slightly up. Command is right in line with where he was, so you should be able to find your level here if you're Castillo at some point. The question is it against San Diego? And the other question is, what do you do on the other end? Buehler hasn't really been great. He's kind of right in line with where he should be. I mean, command is fine. It's a little bit better than one of the season ago. Strikeout numbers are a little up. You want to lay $120 with Castillo the way that he's been pitching? I can understand not, but he probably should be pitching better and the results should be there. So I think it would actually be Seattle or nothing here on the road with Castillo, just kind of hoping that the underlying metrics would get back here in a single start against San Diego.
Any opinion one way or another on the total? Because it did go up from 7.5 to 8.5, -110 each way on the current 8.5. But does that sound about right for it to be bet up?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, given the current form of both of these pitchers, we always talk about, hey, water finding its level with some of these metrics. It's never really guaranteed to happen. It's never guaranteed to happen in a singular start. When you're betting these games, you're just kind of hoping like this is the game where the underlying stuff comes to fruition and Castillo snaps back. But what if he doesn't? Right? We talked about that with Yusei Kikuchi the other day. My man got rocked a little bit, and that did not happen. He did not snap back. So there is certainly a chance where Castillo just continues to get rocked. Buehler continues to do what he does, and you have 2 below-average performances, and this game goes over.
Nationals back on top once again as the back-and-forth game with the Nationals and Pirates continues 7-6 right now in the bottom of the 7th. So we'll keep tabs on that, continue to update scores. Like I mentioned, former MLB catcher Chris Jimenez is going to join us coming up in the next hour of the program. We'll also have Chuck Esposito of the Red Rock Racing Sportsbook take us behind the counter with both the NHL and NBA postseason getting underway here. Stick around, so much more to come on Money Moves. This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.